Okay, so it looks like we have a packed room in the house. This is our largest customer education roundtable. So people joining from all over. Thank you again for taking the time out of your busy days to be here. Really excited to go into today's topic. I'm joined by Dave here. I'll introduce him in a second. But just for those of you that are new, firstly, big shout out and welcome to the customereducation.org community. It's been rapidly growing, and we want to talk a little bit about what that community is and how that's growing. I'll introduce today's kind of co-panelist, which is Dave here in a second, and then mostly want to just reiterate that this is a roundtable, which is very different from webinars that you might have been used to both hosting as well as attending. And the difference really is that the roundtable is meant to be collaborative. We're all peers here, starting and running or consulting education programs. And so Dave and I want to learn as much from you all as we want to share our own experiences. And so we will, within the kind of next 45 minutes or so, have some time to kind of go around the room and just talk a little bit about what you guys are working on, what those metrics mean, and how you're thinking about building your program. So very excited. Let me kickstart by introducing Dave, who is my co-panelist here. Dave has been a part of the customer education.org community for a long time, has been a personal kind of idol and hero and mentor. So it's really cool to see, or I don't know, it's a kind of a fanboy moment to be doing this with him. Dave has ton of experience in a bunch of different roles, previously at Gainsight and Azuko, and now is a senior manager at customer education at Outreach, which is, and Dave, maybe you can introduce both the Outreach as well as your background.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Saru. I'm honored to be on. We're to level set expectations. I'm really interested in learning as much as I can about this. So, I may say things and make a position. If I'm wrong, call me on it, and we'll figure it out. But most of the things that I'm interested in, my career has been weird. Google me or LinkedIn if you really care, but the things that are relevant to us and the things that I'm really passionate about started with Gainsight. I fell into a role. I had been teaching as an adjunct professor and being a data nerd in my day job, and I just fell in love with all this. A friend of mine who's a teacher said, "Oh, you found your inner teacher." I go, "Okay, I'm a teacher now." And Gainsight was amazing. I learned so much. I learned a lot about metrics there. I went on to Azuko, which got acquired suddenly and in a good way. And that vaulted me off to Outreach. And Outreach, if you don't know about it, it is a sales and engagement platform. What that means, if you boil it down to brass tacks, it is an enablement tool. It is a tool that really helps salespeople sell. If you're a sales development rep or one who's struggling, what it does is helps you structure that experience with rigorous A/B testing for what we call sequences, and it really makes it much less of a heavy lift for someone that maybe first an SDR role is really the first entree you have into the sales role, and it burns through people because it's a hard job. So we build structure around that and help people with that. But that also is much more expansive. It is a platform, and it does a lot more integration with Dynamics or Salesforce. Basically, you can really empower your sales team, including account execs and even CSMs. So check it out, outreach.io. Got to remember that IO, just like gong.io. And I think that's a good intro. The other thing that I will say is that we run, together with Adam Avramescu, the Customer Education Laboratory podcast. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard that. Again, open invite to those of you who have topics and want to get involved, because we're starting to do interviews, stuff like this. So that's, and again, we're here to learn and we're here to grow. So let's get to it.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. Again, we have about 20 people in the room, and we will go ahead, we'll do introductions of the group in about 30 minutes or so once we've covered a little bit of the topics, just so we can make sure we can cover the meat of what we're going to do here. Really, the idea for today is we've been having a lot of discussions on the Slack channel about customer education metrics. What are they? What are other people using? what is actually relevant, what feels like the right type of metrics to go back to with our customer success managers, or even to our VPs or COOs, depending on who you roll up to. And really, a lot of the frustration, or kind of a lot of the questions that we get in the community is, hey, I'm a customer education leader, but I don't often know what the right metrics are that I should go back to the business with, and I feel like I'm not doing a good job of really running a data-driven education function. So that's kind of like the big idea. Before we jump in, I want to make a quick announcement. I know a lot of you already know this, but we just crossed 500 members on the customereducation.org Slack channel. So shout out to all of you for inviting your peers and friends and colleagues, and spreading the word. It's kind of a it's amazing to see the community growing pretty much organically, and pretty much all driven by community members. So that's super exciting, and we'll be at 1,000 before you know it. So once again, thank you for all of you for sharing this love and affection with other people. Okay, so Dave, I know you wanted to, you wanted to kind of do a little workshop exercise where people, I don't know, pull up a piece of paper and pen and go through some of these questions. But do you think this is a good time to start with the poll that we talked about?
Yeah, let's go do the poll first.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we just want to get a baseline of where people are with their customer education metrics today. So we're going to launch a poll, give you about 30 seconds. Again, it feels weird doing this because I know all of you are professionals at running these kinds of webinars, so I'm a little nervous here. But go ahead and tell us where you are with your customer education metrics today. So, a couple of different options here. I put some emojis, but apparently they don't show up on Zoom polls. And your options range all the way from just getting started, don't have anything, to share them with our CS team, or share them with our company, share them externally. Okay, I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds. All right. Let me share the results here. Dave, what are your comments and thoughts about the poll results?
I think that's great. It looks like a lot of you are certainly tracking, which is great. 20% are just getting started. Frankly, I'm starting over again too. So I picked the third option. I've done this twice. So don't be embarrassed. Let's share. Let's get into the meat of it. Definitely interested in seeing those of you who are doing are sharing with the company. Let's see. Let's learn about it. So good stuff.
So yeah, so just to recap, it seems about 25, like a quarter of people tracking metrics but don't share them. About 20%, a quarter of people share them company-wide. About a fifth share them internally with CS, and then about a fifth just getting started. And I'm definitely in the getting started bucket myself, which is why I had a personal agenda of hosting this, so I could learn from you guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Dave, do you want to walk us through the questions that you had for each of us to do a workshop exercise where we spend some time, actually taking this hour and using it to sit down and maybe write some of those questions that you had?
Yeah, certainly. And some of you may have already done this exercise, so it's probably a repeat, or you could skip it. But again, there's probably more expansive question sets or question banks that you could use. The first question is, of course, what he's showing on the screen here. If you're not tracking right now, and even if you are, to think about what are those core metrics that you want to track. That means, and just to give you an example, I think of naturally, and this isn't the best one in the world anymore, but completion rates and things like that. So let's take a minute. I'm really interested in the outcomes on this to see what I might be missing too, because I'm going back and redoing this. What are the core metrics that you track? Again, this is kind of relegated to your universe, not outside. Good.
Okay, and I think, and Dave, how do you want to share? Do you want us to all chat within the Zoom app, or do you want a couple of, do you want to pick a couple of people and go through some of what they came up with? How should we best share?
Yeah, those of you who want to share, let's go find a couple folks and tell me what your options are. And those of you who want to share on chat, that's great too. So like think about it, and basically we want to go a little bit slow for those who may have done this before, so they can write it all down. Again, this will be recorded. So those of you who want to volunteer, give it a minute here. Those of you who want to volunteer to share yours, let's start from that.
Okay, so I'm going to type out. I would say the first, if you are just doing this exercise, go ahead and type it in the chat. And then if you have already done this exercise, feel free to unmute yourself, and we'll and Dave and you can go at it.
All right. Hey, this is Arthur. Hey guys, Arthur. I'm very new to this forum, so thanks for allowing me to join. We just did a QBR, so I'm actually going to just step through without showing you the deck, the stuff
Awesome.
we reported on, because that's pretty vanilla, right? And we did amazing on all our metrics. Anyway, so let's see. So first, financially, because we are a profit center, so revenue, bookings, margin, and back, right? I think that's all pretty standard stuff in the financial sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may not be worrying about this kind of thing. We are tracking attach rate. So there's a couple of different ways to look at attach rate, but since we're a software company, we're interested in training getting sold on deals.
Yeah.
And a couple of different ways, and how is that trending? As I go on, I'm sort of skipping through slides and seeing if there's anything, like when I come in a new metric, I'll let you know. Because we sell training different ways, people can buy it on a deal. They can buy it after the fact with via an invoice. They can buy it after the fact with a credit card. We do have a notion of training credits, which is another form of money. So we do break out, the financials by those three dimensions to get a sense of again, invoicing versus credit card versus sold on deals, to get a sense of the mix of how people are paying. It's relevant. Obviously, the less bookings less you sell software on a deal, the more you're going to be invoicing after the fact, right? So there's sort of a relationship there. And of course, our financial on the back end, our financial team would love to invoice less, all things equal, right?
Yeah. Automate it.
Right. Yeah. We track discounting, right? Because sometimes you don't get full suggested retail price for your training. So how's the discounting occurring, or more, how much of it is occurring, by different aspects of what we sell for training. We do some forecasting, but I'm not sure that's really relevant to this conversation, other than to say, but if you're going to be doing financials, you probably need to have a forecast.
Got it. It sounds like a lot of the metrics are around like a training as a business, and
Absolutely.
Yeah, got it. I want to hear from Sharon. Sharon, if you're willing to share, I know some of the ideas you had were around product adoption of trained versus untrained. I know that's kind of a hot topic / exciting idea for a lot of people. Do you have a perspective on how you are currently doing that or want to do that?
Yeah, so we measure both product usage, like does it go up after training, within, a month of going to training, 3 weeks of going to training, do they create more reports? Do more users come into the platform? We track health score, so we use Gainsight to measure health score of the customer. We measure whether or not they came back to training, whether somebody new from the customer came in, or whether somebody came back for additional training. We measure how, for SaaS, it's important that people get trained within 90 days, because otherwise you're already thinking about renewals.
Mm-hmm.
So we do that, but we also look at the health score. We take the overall health score of customers who did not go to training, and the overall health score of customers who did go to training. And overall, it's about 10 points higher for customers who did go to training. And then we segment it too, like in the small business units, we do it by region and all kinds of other things. So we slice and dice that data a lot.
Yeah, amen to that, Sharon. We do the same thing with the same kind of relationship. It's awesome.
That's amazing that you're having done the same thing at Gainsight. It's really good to see you and others doing that, because it makes life a lot easier.
Got it. So we had two takes on it. Arthur ran us through a more of a training as a business type of metric, which which is what I ran at a previous company called Adapar. Sharon walked us through a little bit of more tied to the product and product usage, which can be tricky but very exciting. Peter is just going through his entire database of metrics and sharing those. So Peter, maybe we'll give you, a couple, like 30 seconds on what you've already tried and what you want to try, if you want to share. Okay, I'm not sure Peter is on the audio, but thank you for sharing all those metrics. We will.
Yeah, these are Simmer. I think Peter, this is really good stuff too. So it seems Arthur and Sharon, you both talked about different lenses. Arthur, you were talking about the revenue and bookings and such, and that's for instructor-led training, virtual training, and then we started getting to Gainsight for health scoring, and then Peter, you talked about the other one where, look, we need to know the health of our, what are the conversions, what's our CSAT in particular, like how is the training itself performing, so that we can go back to our instructional designers or the people that are developing the content and fix that and improve that. There's a lot. I like these. There's the delta between the number of software licenses and cutoff expansion, health score, NPS. Yeah, this is great stuff. So what I would love to see is like a whole, and I don't know if any of you have found this, and this is where the collaborative part of this roundtable comes in. If any of you have found a guide or multiple guides that have a nice concise listing of the things that someone new should go after, definitely want to share that with the network.
Yeah, and that's what we're hoping to build. As a side note, we're very close to hiring our first customereducation.org intern, and she'll be helping us, take some of these roundtables and kind of document it and make it beautiful and come out with some concise cheat sheets that we can share internally. So that's also part of kind of what we're working on.
Doesn't SEDMA already have something like that, Dave?
What's that?
Doesn't SEDMA already have something like that in their gold mine?
SEDMA may. I let my membership lapse. SEDMA, sadly. Yeah. Who?
Hi, so this is Peter. Sorry,
Hey, Peter. No worries.
So those, just to go back to that list, that's a list I've created from a number of sources, including some things on SEDMA. SEDMA has a lot of great resources related to running the business of training, but not a lot of metrics related to the results of training itself. At least that's what I've found.
Mm-hmm.
And this list comes from, that I've just dumped on you, comes from a number of sources, and I've brought it down to this what I'm calling my final wish list of metrics, kind of weeding through a whole bunch of things to develop this list. It's probably not possible to collect and report on all these things. The ones that, and I've just started with a new company, BitSite, previously at a company called QuickBase, we were reporting on the business-related metrics, active usage for the product, MRR, growth in learning enrollment, growth, active usage in the LMS. Things that, as I think you suggested earlier, relate specifically to engagement, improving the value of the training material to engage clients, and the results of that engagement being increased revenue and increased and expanded usage, reduced churn.
Yeah. Call deflection too.
SEDMA, exactly. SEDMA can be a great resource. I think a lot of it's dated, and I wish they had more active benchmarks.
Dave, so it sounds like it's an opportunity for me and us, I guess, as a community, like, take some of these things that we're learning and kind of make them more cohesive and like a cheat sheet way that you can take away and go from here.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about this community, and you've done a great job getting the Slack group to rally, is that these kind of things we should be sharing. And my angle in learning about this market has been, I came in from being a consultant and an educator and fell into customer ed, which seems like it moves at lightning speed, but we need to pull in what people in L&D and extended enterprise learning and the fields that have been doing training forever and kind of mash it up and take what I'd love to see like a nice playbook that a beginner can look at and say, okay, I got this. now where do I find all this stuff? Which is, saying you're going to do all these things, and one of you said that this is practically impossible to track all of these metrics. But you start somewhere and you ask the business what's going on, which is what we should talk about next. Some of you have really talked about the business. So is that a good transition point, or do we want to go do introductions?
I don't know if you set that up perfectly, but let's transition to the next one.
I do podcasts, my friend, so I'm always doing the bridge.
Okay, so walk us through this one.
Okay. Well, you all, most of you have talked about this already. And I think I'd pivot this and focus on those of you who are maybe earlier in the game, building a program. It's really easy to think about yourself and to think about the metrics that matter to you most. But, and I heard some of you talk about some really good stuff like health scoring and, where are we at on revenue and bookings? What is it your business really needs? And just from my own personal history, even at Gainsight, I sat down with my leadership and even Nick Mehta and said, well, okay, I know what we're tracking, but I want to get the big picture. And we talk about what are the big metrics that we're trying to do. Those change quarter to quarter, year to year, and depends on certain factors. I just listed a few examples, but I think this is a good time to, again, do what we just did. Focus it more on bigger business objectives. I think people track, goals or OKRs, objective key results, whatever you're using. Some of the ones that I'd used before, for example, time to value. So I work closely with onboarding and outreach and Gainsight and Azuqua previously. It's hard. And you want to make sure that people who are critical get what they need. So an example of a good metric to track would be a time to first value or time to value. How long did it take us, or did we move the needle comparing accounts that didn't take training, those that did? Do we move the needle? Do we make it faster? Do we make it better? We could use that to sell more training. Similarly, call deflection. If your support's getting hammered, how can I pull people off of those? I'm going to stop there, but I think it's more valuable. What are the key examples that, or the key things that you do to make sure you're in alignment with your business?
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, just take like a minute of silence and to reflect and think. As you're thinking about them, feel free to chat them in the chat. And if you've already gone through this exercise and want to share it with the community, we had someone suggest they raise their hand on Zoom, so I think that we'll do that this time. So just go ahead and raise your hand if you're ready to share. If not, if you're thinking, we will keep quiet for a minute or so and just chat.
Pam and Gordon, these are really great things. Pulling all of your data in a data warehouse. I like this. In Tableau, it's what I'm doing right now at Outreach.
Okay, Dave, whenever you're ready, we have our first share.
All right, Beth,
yeah,
rock and roll.
Everybody. So I think for our business, one of the main impacts for our overall business was that we were having customer implementations that were taking a long time. So this was a wider initiative rather than just a training initiative. But one of the things we looked at after running, we did a big push to have training moved up front in the project life cycle so that they were taking training before they actually started their project. And one of the things that we found was that implementations were like 30% shorter when we did the training up front versus, at the end of the implementation or sometime in the middle. So this was a direct tie to one of our broader business objectives of implementing in a shorter period of time. And we were able to prove through our metrics that training was actually impacting that. We also had greener project status. So they were coming out of the projects happier. And when we looked at it a year later, they had less chance of attrition. Those people who took the training up front. It took us a while to get there. It took us about a year to do the whole analysis, but
Wow.
it was well worth it.
So let me ask you a question, Beth, on that, because this is something that we're doing right now, even in outreach. What was the persona that you were training up from? Was that more like a implementation administrator, or was that an end user? I think it matters.
Yeah, so it was actually the main focus was the people who were going to be involved in our project. So in some cases, it was the end user who participated, but it was really those implementation project team members. So admins and then super users was really the focus.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That's a pro tip. So thanks for doing that. The numbers are great. 30% decrease in time. It's amazing.
Dave,
Yeah.
I was thinking, Beth, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a huge one, and something that it's not very obvious that we think about, which is not only training helping the ending user, but also the kind of overall experience of onboarding and implementation. Dave, I was thinking, we have Linda and Manish here in the room. Both of them work at customer education vendors and have probably gone through this exercise of setting business level goals with a variety of customers. Do you think it would be a good idea to pull them in?
Well, absolutely. Why not?
Okay.
We got the time.
So, Linda, I want to hear from you first. I know you worked with several companies who are looking for a customer education solution, and it's probably a good time to sit down and actually write down those business goals of why they'll buy a solution like yours. What do you most commonly see at the business level that people are?
But way to put me on the spot, Sumo. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Linda. Howdy.
So I'd love to share. Generally speaking, on the business level, I think about two main things. One is increasing revenue, and two is reducing costs, which in turn is essentially increasing revenue in some way, shape, or form. And even if you're not a even if you're not a profit center, even if you are not charging for training, there are ways in which you're increasing revenue. So any specific metric that can help you prove that, I think, is going to be a big driver of general budget for your initiatives. For example, if you can associate training activity with renewals, product adoption, better behavior, better NPS, better anything that relates to like business level metrics, those are the things that I would start with. From there, some of the cost reduction ones, like a huge one is support ticket reduction. I mean, pretty much, and I'm from SkillJar. For those of you who aren't familiar with SkillJar, feel free to ping me anytime. I'm always in the customer education channel. But pretty much all of our customers see reduction in support tickets among trained users, specifically around user education. So that's support tickets are dollars. You're paying a lot to support that. So it's just a great place to start. Later on I would say not business level metrics, but on an education level, I always look at like penetration, customer penetration, or attach rate, I think Arthur called it as well. Just generally speaking, what percentage of our customers are actually accessing training. And then of course, how much of an account is looking at training. So especially if you're looking for broad adoption, like a great example would be Gong Sumo, because you want every single salesperson at a given company that you're working with to use your product. That's the goal. So what percentage of a given sales org is using a product, which I think is where I see a lot of these broad adoption metrics moving. So what percentage of the people that could adopt a product are adopting it within our customer base.
Wow. Thank you, Linda, for sharing. I mean, Linda keeps it real. She's like, look, you can talk about all the fancy metrics you want, but at the business level, CEOs want to either increase revenue, reduce costs, or hopefully a combination of both. And I think that's a good reminder. It's a good reminder that you can get lost in these customer education metrics, but if they're not aligned to what your CEO wants, at some point you're going to find funding funding being hard. So thank you for sharing that, Linda.
Yeah, sure. And just one last thing. All of those are important for program health, right? So once you have a program up and running, I would definitely track all of the things that we were talking about before relating specifically to your program, just to see how it's going and do people enjoy it and are you changing behavior, right? But from a business metric level.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Manish, can we call on you for a little bit? If you want to share what you've seen with your customers and as you've been building your program.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Sumeri. So I'm along the similar line of Linda. Basically, my experience with most of the customers, especially as it relates to the customer education, that there are a few different folks who are interested in seeing the benefit coming out of the customer education. So let's start with the most common people who are like the folks like you who are in the customer education primarily. From their perspective, the main goal is essentially that they are helping the team to basically onboard, and the main goal here is to how you can reduce the time of implementation or onboarding time. But within onboarding time, also one of the key metrics I constantly see which people are using, they break it down the users of your system by the persona. So whether you are an admin of a platform, whether you are a developer of a platform, whether you are a manager of a platform, you would be using a different parts of the system. So then those features you need to just, based on the persona, you should be able to see that the usage, is that really happening? If it's a manager of your platform, for example, if we take the same example of a Gong, that somebody who's a manager of a sales rep, they may be more interested in running the reports. So how frequently they're running the reports or reviewing the metrics, those kind of things, versus the actual user who would be doing some different kind of activities.
Got it. I guess my question, Manish, is more on like, for the people that these people report to, right? So for your customers, what are their CEOs and like the high level, like maybe heads of customer success?
Yeah, I'm coming to there. I just wanted to break it down from the CS team, and then there is another angle which I want to add. Always we have seen with the customer education, there's a marketing team associated with it, especially if you are in the businesses of training. So their metrics are very different because they are more focused on converting the anonymous user into some lower level subscription, from lower level subscription to a higher level subscription. And if I go down purely from a P&L perspective, a simple example is if you have maybe a 3 level of educations which you are offering, if you are offering a basic level and a mid-level or advanced level, then essentially your goal is to sell those education, whether you're selling through training credit, whether you're selling through online, or whether it's part of something else. So that's the more from a marketing side of it.
Upsell, okay.
Then the third is purely business. So business is primarily, it comes down to more of a P&L angle, so profit and loss angle essentially. So what investment they have made essentially in multiple places basically you can check. One is purely the software which you are using. From that angle you can see. The second is, which is more important, is the longevity of a customer. So you are looking for not only the average revenue per account, but the lifetime value of it, churn rate, those kind of things you would be looking. And this basically takes care of essentially expanding into the different feature set, and essentially that contributes to additional revenue which you would be getting. So business primarily look more from a dollar perspective and essentially the longevity of the customer.
Got it. Thank you. Dave, back to you.
All right. Hey, this is really good stuff. I love this roundtable format, by the way. So good work, everybody. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I remember one other comment that for Linda, Adam would talk about is get to speak the language of the business, and that really helps. Those of you who are talking know this already. Those of you who are getting early into this, knowing what those goals are and listening to others in the community here, sharing this information is really helpful. If you may be like me right now, I'm not worried about revenue yet, but I am, and I'm going to get there. All these kinds of things are relevant. Start with what matters most, start with what you have, and keep building onto it. So we're at the middle of the hour. Did we want to do any introductions before we get to Q3 and wrap it up?
So you tell me. So we have a couple other polls that we can run on. Do people have access to the inputs? That was a simple one. Or we can just go around and do like a 10-second introduction of each person, how long they've been in their customer education program, and yeah.
Let's do that, because I think that's even more valuable. Like getting to know all of you is important to me, and I hope each of you share similar. We don't get enough opportunities to network, so let's go for it.
Got it. So what we'll do is we'll do like a quick, literally, 20-second introduction of your name, where you're located, your company, how long you've been in the customer education role that you're currently at, and the last one we'll do is favorite dessert. Favorite dessert. Oh wait, we already did that. We did favorite dessert. We'll do favorite snack. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, 10 seconds. My name is Sumeru. A lot of you know me as Sumo. It's my nickname. I recently started a new role at Gong. Been in 3 months in San Francisco. Gong is a sales tool. And my favorite snack is Doritos. Dave, on to you.
Yeah, I'm Dave Darrington. I'm head of customer education at Outreach. Been into customer education for at least 5 years, formally in education for probably 10 plus. Favorite snack is chocolate cake.
Okay. So next up on the list, we have Arthur, Elaine, Beth, and Brittany in that order. So Arthur.
Okay, hi everybody. So Arthur Altman. I work at SailPoint Technologies in Austin, Texas. The role I have at SailPoint is my tenure at SailPoint about the last 3.5 years is basically a pain in the neck on a professional level. And I've been in education services for over 20 years in various roles, from individual contributor to running a global business. But I'm back down doing individual contributor stuff. Favorite snack would be, it's not really a snack, but because I'm thinking dessert more than snack, wild blueberry pie.
All right. Elaine.
Hey, everybody. I'm Elaine Oliver. I am in Beaverton, Oregon, just outside of Portland. I am in a new role at Nike, doing internal training for a asset dam project. Previous, I was on Erin's team at Opal. She is also on the line. So just made the transition not too long ago, let's call it 3 weeks ago. So very, very new, and have been on the customer education Slack for at least a year, and always love reading all of the information there. So definitely just starting to dig into the project and what's changing, going from the software vendor side to the internal corporate side. So greatly appreciate all the information being shared. Favorite snack is guacamole and chips.
All right, Beth.
Hi, Beth Gomez here. I'm with Financial Force out of our San Francisco office. This is currently my third role in customer education training. I have 12 years experience, and my favorite snack, I'm gonna go with nachos.
All right. Okay, we have Brittany, Clint, Dave Howard, and then Dave Gillen next. So Brittany.
Hey guys, it's Brittany Quigley. I am with Intellum, which, if you're not familiar, it's a vendor, but I also manage our employee and customer training version of our platform. So I have been learning so much from Slack. My favorite snack, I think, is probably guacamole and chips. I think that one was already said, but it sounded amazing. So
okay, that's a +2. Dave Howard. All right, Dave Howard going once. Dave Howard going twice.
Sorry, I was trying to get to the unmute mic.
Caught it.
It wouldn't drop down to my iPad, so we found it. I'm Dave Howard. I'm from just outside Vancouver, British Columbia. I have my own company called Moment Storm Media. And what I'm really interested in is how people get into the customer education space. I have a long history, 30 plus years of e-learning and other education, and I'm trying to find ways that I can understand the customer education sector specifically. So I'm really happy that I found the Slack channel. And just found it, and I'm looking forward to having some interesting conversations with people. I guess my favorite snacks probably would be nachos as well.
Okay. All right. We have Dave Gillen, then Aaron, and then Jeremy Hess. So David.
Yeah. Thanks again for having us on here, Sumo. My name is David Guillen. I'm in Denver, Colorado. A company called TraceGain. We focus on tracking documentation associated with food manufacturing. And my background is entirely education for over the past decade as a formal instructor and counselor, and tripped and fell into customer ed, where I spent the last year pulling our existing program away from the ad hocalypse model, which is currently a dumpster fire, putting else. Shifting into next year where we can actually start measuring those behavior changes and then, really saying how effective is our work. So thanks again.
Favorite snack?
Oh, right. Favorite snack. I'm going to go back to corn nuts. It's so disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
I love wrecking my teeth with those things. I don't know.
All right. All right. We have Aaron, Jeremy, and then Nilavi. So we'll go with Aaron first.
Yeah, hi, I'm Erin. I'm out of Portland, Oregon. I work at Opal. Elaine stole my company name and my snacks, so we miss Elaine greatly. I've been on the customer education team and running it for the last 5 to 6 years. I think that's everything. Happy to be here. It's such a great community.
All right. Jeremy?
Hey, everybody. Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Wow. Jeremy Hess, Israel, Tel Aviv. I'm not in customer education directly. I'm tangentially related. I work for a company called CloudShare that offers a platform for virtual IT labs, which is related to the customer education space because, naturally it helps you guys if, you guys need something like virtual labs. So I'm here to learn more about the space in general because I do marketing. I'm not going to try and sell you guys, don't worry. So I've been in marketing for quite a while, 10 years or so. In any case, that's pretty much it for me. I'm just here to listen and learn. So it's really cool to have met you guys and be part of this group. And I'd say my favorite snack is anything with chocolate in it.
Okay. All right. We're going to Nilavi, and then we'll go back to Clint and then Linda. So Clint.
Should have, yeah. Oh, hi. I should have said Kinda Nahlawi, but I don't know why it says Nahlawi on my name.
Hi, Kendon. Sorry, I just saw your username. That's all I had.
I know, it's weird. I'll fix it. So I'm Kinda. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. I work from home, and I recently started at my role as a training specialist at Diligent. It's the software company for governments and boards. So we are working on a project right now rolling out a new learning management system and a whole customer certification program. So that's what sparked my interest in your channel. So my favorite snack would be popcorn, and I really am enjoying this talk. Thanks a lot.
Okay, perfect. Clint, and then we have Linda and Manish.
Hi, Clint. I'm from San Diego. Been in customer education formally for probably 7 years now. I spent 5 years building and operating the customer education program at Helium, and for the last 2 years almost, I've been out on my own consulting with SaaS companies, looking to build out customer education functions. And my favorite snack is chips and salsa.
All right. Linda, Manish, Nick, and Nick.
Hi, everybody. Already spoke. I'm Linda. I work at SkillJar. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we're also a vendor in the space. We're a customer training platform, and I see a few of our customers on the line. I spend most of my time thinking about customer education. I come from that background. I'm an educator at heart. I was a teacher before I transitioned into customer onboarding and training. And now I do lots of webinars and things like that for SkillJar, talking about customer education, featuring our customers, and currently I'm planning our customer conference, SkillJar Connect. It's always great to be here and geek out about anything related to customer education. I'm based in Seattle, and my favorite snack is ice cream. Is ice cream a snack or a dessert?
It's always a snack.
All right, Manish, you're up next.
Yeah, hi everybody. I also spoke a few minutes back. This is Manish Gupta. I work for a company called EduBread, who is also a vendor. One of the things which I very closely work as EduBread also has a EduBread University, which is built on our platform. So I'm pretty passionate working with our customer education team and onboarding our customer and helping our customer in any ways which I can help. So it's always good to hear the perspective from all you working in a different industry and correlate with what my experiences are there. I'm based here in San Francisco Bay Area, and my favorite dessert is slightly different than what you all talked about. It's a Indian dish called samosa. It's a puffed pastry filled with potatoes. It's pretty good if you have not tried samosa with chutney outside.
Oh,
It's
I know some of
absolutely
those.
fantastic. All right, we have Nick DeSimone and then Nick Hoffman.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Nick. I'm based in Boston. I've been running customer education at Workable, which is a software company. We make recruiting software for about 2 years. I've probably about 5 years of training background, working more on like internal training within support teams. Yeah, excited to be here. It's been great to get all this info out of the presentation today. Favorite snack would have to be peanut butter stuffed pretzels.
Okay. All right, we have Nick Hoffman, Norman, and then Pamela.
Hey guys, my name's Nick. I live in Denver, Colorado, where I work for an advertising tech company called SpotX. And I've been in customer ed for about 5 years now. And my favorite snack, I don't know, I'm eating carrots right now, but I don't know if that counts as favorite snack.
All right, Norman, and then Pamela.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Yeah, my name is Norm Robinson. I work at a content marketing platform for SaaS called Percolate. I'm based out of New York City, but we got offices in a few different cities. I've been in customer education for around 3 years now. We're actually launching our LMS via SkillJar next month. Shout out to Linda. And so I'm basically really been enjoying this talk because I'm trying to figure out, not just the metrics that should be important to us, but the metrics that will get execs excited, the ones that will get sales excited when talking to prospects. So it's like taking that massive list Peter had earlier, maybe kind of segmenting it into like which audiences will find certain things most valuable. So this has been really good for that. And my favorite snack is plain almonds, and I stand by it.
All right.
Healthy.
All right, we have 2 more left. So Pamela, Peter, and Sharon. So Pamela first.
Hi, y'all. So I'm Pam. I have been in this for a very long time, since 1996. Scary. I have my own consulting company. It's called Zenya Learning. You should Zen with the learning. And being in your own business, you always want to prove to people that there's a return on investment. So I'm always looking to partner with companies that need education, customer education. Thanks.
All right. Peter?
Peter Goldstein. I'm currently I'm in Boston, currently with a company called BitSite. Been here for about 2.5 months now. I came here from QuickBase, working very hard to build out new content for new implementation, LMS implementation. Was lucky at QuickBase where we had a lot of folks, integration folks internally, data folks who helped us put together some great dashboards on those key business metrics there, and trying to do the same here with the resources that are available. Currently on a Dove Bar diet, so I'd have to say.
All right, last but not least, you have Sharon.
I'm Sharon Castillo. I'm in Boston. I work for Cloud Health for the last 2.5 years as the director of both customer, partner, actually, and internal training. We were acquired by VMware a year ago. I've been in the industry for 30 years or so, and I love to watch how it's evolving. And right now, the biggest thing for me is how training is really starting to integrate into customer success more than just being its own standalone thing. So that's really where my energy comes from. And my favorite snack is strawberries.
All right. Okay, I'm just going to make a quick comment, and then David, I'll give it back to you. I just want to say this is pretty awesome. It's an international crowd. I didn't realize people are joining from literally all over the world. And one thing I love about this is that we really want to create a space where it's, where practitioners, vendors, and consultants can all come together and collaborate and learn from each other and improve our own programs, but also help improve the community from the resources that are available to us. So I think that's kind of awesome. So Dave, back to you. We have 10 minutes, a couple of more questions. We still haven't gone to the, the metrics that you wanted to talk about. So yeah, back to you.
Oh no, I think we're getting all the metrics out, and this is more of a collaborative thing. So let's keep on track with this. Let's go with the last question and go round robin again for those that want to share. The last bucket that at least came to mind for me is that, okay, we talked about the core business, core metrics for any education team. It's, completion rate, all the things that we talked about that are kind of generic that you would have in your LMS pretty much stock. Then we talked about business, and that's a little bit more complicated because, as many of you are saying, and I'm experiencing again as well, is you've got to get all that data to a central repository to be able to do something with it, visualize it, etc. That's not easy, not an easy lift unless you have an awesome BI team, and some of you do. But what else are you tracking? What else is important? That may be, and I'll give you just one example from my history. I found, since I was loading videos into Wistia, they have a really robust number of statistics, like a lot of information about the performance of that video. So I was, at my last position, pulling all that information in to my data warehouse and munging that together with other things to expand and enhance on the performance of the educational outcomes. It was a little bit harder to do, and it isn't easy to correlate to a one-to-one to an individual, but it was still helpful. So I'm thinking more of things like that. What other adjunct, extraneous things do you track, do you care about? And let's just have a little talk around that.
Are we allowed to talk about stuff we'd like to track but we can't?
Absolutely. Anything's a fair game.
Okay. I'm going to unload my whole thing on you guys. Anyway, let's keep it small. So those of you that use systems integrators maybe to sell your solution, I don't know how many of you are in that situation for your business. But systems integrators in general, I'm not necessarily speaking about SailPoint here, but systems integrators in general, when they sell the deal, they want to go off and do the implementation. They're not really that excited about the vendor kind of poking their nose into what they're up to, right? How they're doing it. And so, for example, you've got a certification program, and are they putting their certified staff on the projects, or are they putting a bunch of recent college grads and then putting maybe one certified person to hopefully hold it together? Right? You'd love to get visibility of some of those things that, that system integrators is simply not going to let you in. And I'd love to be able to do that generally. And it's never been something that has been easy to do or even possible sometimes because Trane doesn't own the relationship, right? The relationship is owned by other parts of the company typically. And they mainly want them to sell and implement, and they're sympathetic, but they're not really going to go in there and, put a big stick in the beehive and watch the bees kind of come out and scream.
Do they record? Do you or does somebody record that information in some kind of a accessible way? Do we track?
Well, we know. I mean, obviously, for any certification program, you know who you certified.
No, you're certified, but I'm talking like who. Oh no, yes, you know who you certified, so you've got that data. But the data that you might be missing or not know where it is what did that integrator, that partner, or whomever. Who do they put on the account? Who went and performed the training?
Well, or did the implementation in our case. Yeah. So that's kind of one I'd love to have it thing, right? Mm-hmm. It would just close the loop on basically for really the value proposition of any kind of a implementer certification program that you're putting out. How do you know it's any good unless you can tell what the people with the certification are doing? And if most of them are not your employees, you don't really know.
Totally.
All right. Oh, by the way, thank you to Sharon because she introduced me to this great group. I didn't even guys know you existed until I spoke to Sharon. So thank you so much.
All right. Dave, I know we have only 5 minutes. I want to move towards wrapping up because I think there's people have to hop off on other calls. Also, some ideas I think that came up during this conversation that we think might be worth recapping. So I think one thing that came off is like everyone is kind of looking for industry benchmarks. And if people are willing to participate, maybe we can run our own little survey from just within the community. Maybe have 100 or so participants, and then everyone can share their own metrics and the lack thereof, and then maybe just be able to share some industry benchmarks. I think that's one good idea. What else should we be doing, as a community to coordinate and kind of learn from each other and take some of the conversations from here forward?
Well, definitely that is great. I think, so the thing that I really love, and again, thanks for putting together this community, Simru, that getting everybody together and just having a discussion. I hope I'm not alone in thinking that it's hard to connect with our peers. And because this field, while it's been here, like I said before, is this is kind of a new angle or a new slant on education. So one other thing that I'd invite you to, I'm going to put a couple links here in the group chat. That's my personal LinkedIn, so LinkedIn to me. But what I'm really after is if you're excited about customer education and you have something to share, that second link, the customer.education, is our podcast. On that site, there's a form where you can contact me through LinkedIn or you can email me. Look to interview people, and I'd like to go deep on some of these subjects too. So if you're interested, you want to talk with us, you have a topic, what we're trying to do with the C-Lab thing is, again, we all play not against each other, play with each other in the same field. We're kind of trying to structure talks, not roundtables, but more one-on-one interviews, and deliver content in that format too. So if you want to be on an interview, or you have a topic you want to discuss and you want to go in that kind of angle, let me know.
Okay. All right. So I want to wrap up by saying, a huge shout out to everyone for showing up. This is a roundtable. It only works if everyone's here and sharing ideas. I want to give a quick sneak peek into some of the topics for the future ones. I'm going to be sending out a poll for the community to vote on. But the 3 top contenders right now are A, how to stitch together different parts and create a cohesive almost like a landing experience, something that Optimizely did pretty well, and stitch together help and help desk stuff and LMS and support tickets into like a beautiful unified whole. So that's one topic. Second topic that has come up again and again is how should customer education work with product team and improve that relationship, and like how do we not train for just things that are broken and actually work on fixing and improving the product. So that's another one. And there are other ideas out there. So we'll send out a poll quickly here soon. Thank you again for participating. Again, a big part of what we want to do is just make sure that we're opening channels and can communicate with each other. So we will continue the conversation on the #metrics channel within the Slack group. Again, for those of you that want to go deep into metrics and keep chatting, I will post this conversation to that channel. I will post a recording of this entire meeting to that channel, and then let's continue the conversation there. And if you want to go deeper, as Dave mentioned, we would love to see more podcasts and episodes from CE Labs on going deeper into the metrics there.